JamiaTV, Beacon for the Nation. This program is suitable for general viewing.
أهلا وسهلا ومرحبا بكم والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Welcome to Live Real Talk Show tonight. I am your host Zamzam Ahmed, and tonight we are going to talk about HR functions in an organization. And I've come to realize the biggest challenge we are facing as the people of the nation is lack of awareness, lack of knowledge, lack of information, hence making decisions that are not rightful. So today we are going to look into HR functions in an organization, and in the studio I have been joined by Daniel Omukonyi, who is a human resource manager from the far end. We also have next to me Lilian Bungei, who is also a human resource manager as well as talent acquisition expert. Good evening, guys. Sorry.
Good evening.
How are you?
We are fine.
Najua mvua imewagonga kidogo, lakini at least you guys are here, and I truly appreciate.
Thank you.
Now, because we're talking about HR functions in an organization, let me start with Daniel. First of all, who is a HR?
A HR is a short form of a human resource manager, and HR plays a pivotal role in an organization, acting as a leverage between the management and the employees to ensure that all activities within a work organization run smoothly. Or sometimes you can say he manages human labor. Yeah. Okay,
now when we talk about HR manager, and the biggest challenge we're facing as the people is not knowing the functions, or lacking awareness, or lacking the information or knowledge about a certain thing. Let me still stick with you before I come to Lilian.
Yeah.
The main role of a HR department in an organization.
Okay, I will mention a few because there are so many.
So
one,
there are so many, but
yes,
at least we have that
the main
one,
yes,
because different organizations have different setups.
Sure.
Of departments.
Yeah, so there are different roles of HR, and one I'll mention recruitment and selection as the first one. So we have, when you're recruiting talents in an organization, you have to get the right talent for the right job to do, because sometimes we get the wrong talents and we give them the right job, so they fail to deliver. That falls within recruitment and selection. After that, we have onboarding and induction. After you have hired someone in an organization, it's important for you to take them through the culture of the organization. You tell them, this is how we dress. We don't dress rackets on a working day. We do officials, we do this and this. You take them through. It's called induction. It's a function of a HR. In a way that when an employee goes out for lunch and they are late to come back, the top manager asks the HR, did you do proper induction for this person? Then the third one, we have training. After you have inducted them, you pass them through training so that they may understand well their job description, what you expect of them, what their KPIs are. They understand them very well. So we have, I mentioned recruitment and selection, mentioned induction and onboarding, I've mentioned training and development, and then we have payroll. The HR prepares payroll, and then he submits to the finance, and then the finance facilitates the salary payments. Then we also have employee relations, how employees relate in an organization in a way that there are no discrimination based on gender, based on what else, race. Maybe these are an Indian, these are Kenyan, or a black, and there is that discrimination. It's the role of a HR to ensure that everything runs smoothly within the employees.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Now, let me come to Lillian. I believe you are set now.
Yeah.
Okay. From the introduction of you guys, you are Lillian Bungei, Human Resource Manager. We have Daniel also, who's a Human Resource Manager. But there is something else that I added, or rather, it is your profession.
Yeah.
Talent acquisition expert. What is it about?
Okay, first of all, thank you for this opportunity just to be here and talk about HR. It's something that I have passion, and it touches my heart generally to just talk about people and how we manage them. So first of all, I'm an HR by profession. That is literally my profession. And at the same time, I've dealt literally managing an HR department for quite a while. And then along the way, I felt like I'm more aligned in making sure that I bring talents to the right position. Because if you sit down and look at an organization, human capital is the main asset. If at all we are going to talk about successful companies which are being run out here. So when you talk about human capital, we are talking about bringing in the right candidates, the right people who can fit the right roles. And in most cases, people tend to look at talent acquisition, or in a common language, recruitment, as something just you post a job advert and then people apply, and then you just bring them because they are qualified in specific requirement that we are going to meet as we post this job. But there's something that people don't understand when it comes to talent acquisition. Talent acquisition is mainly, if at all you find the right candidate, the rest of HR functionality will run smoothly, because you'll be bringing somebody who knows what they're supposed to do and who really understand that role. And if at all you can get somebody who knows what they are doing and they really love that position to be able to run that position so well, the other aspect of making sure that employee relations as a function of HR will be so easy, because this is somebody who knows what they are doing, they are able to gel well with the rest of the team, and they can be able to move ahead. So my position right now is just to make sure that as I do talent acquisition, I make sure I send the right candidate to the right role, in the sense that their skill meets the job description that I've already posted. And also when it comes, I know most people will not talk about it, but it's a big deal when it comes to recruitment, the attitude of a candidate or the person you're bringing in. Somebody can have a very good qualification that is in aspect of they have the papers, they have the experience, but what about their attitude? Because attitude pushes people to go further, in the sense that they can be able to be taught when it comes to new way of handling this role that they're coming in. They're able to adapt easily. That is working in a team. And I feel that if at all I can be able to handle that aspect, the rest of me managing an HR department is so easy and effortlessly.
Okay. Now, because there is something you've mentioned and he also mentioned, and it's all about recruitment and recruiting a talented person. So let me stick with you first when it comes to recruitment. How does a human resource manager handle recruitment and employee selection?
Employee selection. Okay, recruitment end to end it's a functionality that it's so big, if I may say it. In where I'm working right now, I'm literally based in that functionality. It's not because I cannot be able to support onboarding and the rest of the functionality, but we realize that there is a reason, or there is a need for us to be able to make sure that we bring the right person in this role. And how are we going to concentrate on that aspect? We need specific people to be able to manage that role. So as we bring the right person, we start definitely with making sure that we understand the role. As the hiring manager brings the information, we understand the role. What does the hiring manager need? Because at the end of it, you need an accountant, for example. But this accountant is coming to your company. You know, all companies that are not the same. There are those who are generally maybe concentrating with reconciliation. I want you to measure your skills or your experience in reconciliation or accounts payable or accounts receivable. So as we advertise for this specific role, I'm just taking an example of an accountant. we need somebody who can be able to also use QuickBook Online, either QuickBook Desktop, but there are some hiring manager who are really asking us for specific information. This is because as you come in entirely, that is what you're going to use. And if at all you're going to bring somebody who has used either Sage or probably other forms of or other accounting system, it might be very hard for them to gel with this specific software. Yeah, it's trainable. You can be trained and be able to handle it. But when it comes to fast-paced environment, most people don't have that time to be able to do that training fully. So we need somebody who has a bit of knowledge, and that is the reason why we are talking about specific requirement. You are an accountant. Doesn't mean that you fit in all the roles. There are specific roles you can be better, but the other roles probably you're not going to be a good candidate.
Now let me come to Daniel. There is one thing that you've mentioned whereby a person is being employed, the right person, but with the wrong maybe specialization, like what she has mentioned at the end of her review. As per you, if I may ask, on retaining talented employees, so how does HR or what strategies does a HR use to retain talented employees? Okay,
in the process of an employee now, he has received an employment contract and they are performing their functions. There is another function of a HR that's called performance management. We do evaluations, and these are evaluations ascertain how efficient an employee has been at a workplace. Has this person met our expectations? If they have met expectations, then there are different ways to retain such talents, because you wouldn't like to miss or to lose out on such a person who adds value to a company. So there is a way you may recognize them amidst other staff as a top performer. You know, there is intrinsic motivation and extrinsic. So you may use extrinsic way and recognize them. You may increase their salary. You tell them, because of this performance, we are going to add you a salary of this amount as our thanksgiving to your good work. And still you may also promote them to senior roles. If you are serving as an assistant and they have performed so well, you elevate them. And you see, such kind of things will motivate people to work even more. So as this person is happy because they have been elevated or their salaries have been increased, also as a company you are gaining because he is adding total value to the company.
Now, you know, when we have a human resource manager, before he or she reaches to that employee down there, there are different offices in between, the different channels. Now, how is that?
So
when it comes to performance?
So when it becomes to performance, it also depends, because we have different departments at our workstation. And then we have supervisors or team leaders. So when you're doing evaluation as a HR, you don't just sit and look at this person and say, this one, he qualifies for promotion. No. You have to get some insights from the immediate supervisors, because there are cases where an employee poses to be a very good person in the eyes of management, but down there they are very stubborn. So, and there are different ways. You may observe, observe their characters. Sometimes these employees tired and you want to test on their attitude. So you call them and say, you know, he or she is tired, and you tell her or him, get me some water. You just want to see their attitude on how they react, because you are testing on something. So you may observe, and also you may evaluate by the use of supervisors, because they know them well, they spend much of the time. So you do the evaluation, you ask, sometimes you sit the supervisor here, the employee and yourself, and then you're asking questions about him, but the supervisor responds. He responds to those questions. And that is part of evaluation. Yeah, you're evaluating to see how efficient they have been as far as carrying out their duties are concerned. Then now, after the evaluation, now you prepare the report and you give it to the management, and you make suggestions that for this one, for this employee, this is his or her strengths. 1, 2, 3. There are strengths. And then these are the weaknesses where he has to improve. Then after that, you can make a recommendation. Maybe you can recommend salary increment. You may recommend retain the very position. You may recommend terminate. We don't want such kind of an employee in our organization. It doesn't align with our objectives. So we may terminate. Those recommendations are submitted to the top management, and then they make the final decisions.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me come to Lillian. This might be a bit funny, but this is something that normally happens, and we cannot deny that as much as you are saying it is part of the core values of organizations, of companies, one of them being unity and teamwork, right?
No.
So I don't know if those are two or they are one, whichever the case is, unity and teamwork. So it might happen whereby you have a supervisor, yeah, you have maybe a general manager, and I've said there are different offices in between the HR and the one who's working down there. So as a HR, how does HR address workplace conflicts and grievances?
Okay, so for the issue of workplace conflicts, basically it lies under employee relations, and in most cases, let's talk about conflict because that is the most common situation that we normally face as an HR. And in that regard, it takes me back now. At the end of it, it takes me back to the expectation of employees, and also at the same time, given that we are the bridge between the management and the employees. So the expectation of employees, what are the expectation of employees? Because if at all you get it right, what do they want? You can be able to manage them in the aspect that they get probably because if at all you're talking about employee expectation, we're talking about fair compensation. We are talking about work-life balance. We are talking about they want to be heard, and also we are talking about the growth, that aspect of where I came here as probably an associate. I want to be a specialist. I want to be an expert, probably in the next 5 years. Are you meeting those expectations or not? Because those are the most important conflict arises in that aspect when they are not contented with where they are. So they try to create a situation whereby they are not okay with the teammates. They cannot be able to gel with the team because they feel like they are not heard, they are not valued. And that now brings us to the aspect that once we recruit somebody and now we are in that aspect of onboarding process, that is the time for you to get to know this employee that you've brought in. Talk to them in the essence that what do you want to, what is your expectation probably with this company as you come in? As you also bring your job description in the table and be like, hey, I know you've come here in a position of maybe a customer service. This is your job description, but I know you have your expectation. What do you want to be, or where do you want to see yourself? They'll tell them. Is
this a conversation that you should have when you are being employed at that time?
Yes, that is the first thing you need to do with them. Because at the end of it, even me as an HR there, I'm also an employee. And I'm also looking to, at some point, I need to be able to be somewhere. Be it not changing probably where I'll be working, like as an HR, but maybe I need you to support my education. Maybe I want to better myself in this field of HR. I need to study more. I need to be exposed, probably there's that aspect of I want to do 1, 2, 3. Can you be able to support me as a company? So that is the same thing with also employee. If at all you can be able to meet the fact that some of them, they'll be like, I think I'm comfortable in this position, but I want to further my education. Can you give me an allowance whereby probably you don't need to pay, but in the evening, probably we are closing at around 5 p.m. Can you release me by 4 p.m. so that I can go study in 1 hour and then head back home? Those are the things that you need to balance as work-life balance, and also realize that your team is also growing in that aspect.
Wow, that's amazing. And I think we're going to take a short break, but we'll be back with more. I know last time we had talked about employee well-being, and there is a relationship between the HR manager and the employees' well-being. That is also what we're going to look at, and also that we are in fast-changing world, definitely as far as technology is concerned, that is something that is part of us. Therefore, it is also something that we're going to look into. But for now, let's go for a short break.
JamiaTV, beacon for the nation.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. يا أيها الذين آمنوا إذا نودي للصلاة من يوم الجمعة فاسعوا إلى ذكر الله وذروا البيع ذلكم خير لكم إن كنتم تعلمون.
Enyi mlioamini, munapoitwa kuhudhuria swala ya Ijumaa, fanyeni haraka kuikimbilia, muache biashara zenu, hilo ni bora ikiwa mwelewa.
Isikilizeni kwa umakinifu khutba ya Ijumaa
ili uzidi kujenga imani yako na kupata faida nyingi ya siku hii.
Coming to you every Friday from Jamia Mosque, Nairobi.
Live on JamiaTV.
Verse of the day.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
المال والبنون زينة الحياة الدنيا والباقيات الصالحات خير عند ربك ثوابا وخير أملا.
Pearls of Wisdom.
Abu Huraira radiallahu anhu narrated that the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, "Whatever I have commanded you, do it, and whatever I have forbidden you, refrain from it."
JamiaTV, beacon for the nation.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back and thank you so much for keeping it at JamiaTV. This is the second segment of Live Real Talk Show and I am your host Zamzam Ahmed. We continue with our conversation on HR functions in an organization. So we proceed from where we left. Let me start it with Daniel. When we talk about HR being a bridge between the employees and the board. So what is the role of HR in ensuring the employees' well-being in the organization?
It's a big function because as a HR, you are there to protect the interest of the organization and also the interest of the employees. Yeah, in a way that you are not leaning on one side, but you are just acting as a leverage. And by so doing, you are giving the management the right information about a certain employee. Because there are cases where maybe a supervisor hates or doesn't like an employee by their appearance or where they come from, and so many reasons. So you have to ensure that the information you're giving is informed and accurate, not biased or not fake, but it's very okay. The information that you're giving is very proper and efficient. So, and by so doing, you are also giving confidence to the employees in a way that when they are working for the organization, they understand that it's not just work, but they are valued at that place. So by so doing, you are promoting their well-being because they are comfortable working. They are not just working for money to pay rent and bills, but they are working and they know that we are valued in this place. And we are, as we always say, that employees are the most valuable assets at our work environment. So they feel very okay, they feel free to work, and when they are free to work, then their performance will always be top.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, when we stick to the issue of employee well-being, let me come to you, Lillian. So how does HR promote diversity and inclusion in the workplace?
Okay, so for the case of diversity and inclusion, in most cases, it's always making sure, as you bring also that aspect of diversity and inclusion, it's not a matter of just blanketly talking about we are treating you equally or in that aspect. In most cases, even treating somebody equally doesn't work with as an HR doesn't work in that way. You need to treat people fairly because as an individual, we have our characters. Even you at home, if at all you have the kids, I'm a mom, so I know my kids. So at the end of it, you'll find that they are your kids. Basically, you're the one who give birth to them, but they are not the same. They deserve individual treatment. It's the same as also HR in a company. As you also make sure that you bring the aspect of diversity and making sure that you treat those employees equally to feel that they are valued, they are heard in that aspect. You also make sure that you treat those employees in a manner that you try to know individual strength, you try to know individual weaknesses, just to be able to bring to shorten the gap. And at the same time, as you try to shorten the gap, that means that specific individual has to be treated differently. And this is because as an HR, the way I've been managing my team, it's because I tend to find there are two types of employees. One employee is that person you have to follow them on a daily basis to attain their task or to probably to make sure that they can be able to do their assignment well. And there is also another employee who doesn't need to be followed. They are the people who don't need direction at all. They need freedom. And once you give them a project to run or probably something to do, just leave them. Give them the assignment, tell them, this is what I want you to do. As I leave you to do it, I know you are going to manage. And to be honest, using that aspect of that, I try to treat different employees differently depending on their characters, their attitude, and how they do their assignment or task. It has helped me, it has literally enabled me to be able to achieve some targets immensely, because now you know, for Caro, I'm going to leave them and they'll be able to do that. And then there's this other person you need to remind them on a daily basis. Hey, where are you? I've worked with fintech, so I know how project works. You need to follow them on a daily basis to make sure where are they in their portfolios. Are they really moving ahead, or probably they need a bit of support? And then there's one of those, the other one who doesn't need direction. They'll just call you and be like, hey, I'm done, but I need 1 or 2, 3. And that will be it. So basically for diversity, you also need to know yourself, to know your team wholesomely, to be able also now to manage them properly.
Okay, there is something else about different employees. And sometimes when we tend to maybe apply for job opportunities that have been announced, I don't know, is it in the CV or something like that? I can work under pressure. What does that mean?
Literally, I tend to say people misuse that word, to be honest, because I've worked with people who are in their CV, they have literally portrayed that aspect. So I can work under pressure, I need less supervision to be able to handle my assignment. But at the end of it, when you bring them on board, total different. And to be honest, I feel like a lot of candidates, and this is something that I've been talking to my colleagues that we work together, I feel like this one-on-one conversation when it comes to interview portrays a lot of characters in people, as much as it doesn't expose them fully, but depending on behavioral question that you'll be asking that person, you can be able to tell if this person, they mean their words or not. And in most cases, let me surprise you, in most cases, those people who have very short answers are the best candidates to bring on board. Those people who have literally few to talk, they're always the best. Because when they tell you something, in most cases, it's what they mean. Especially if at all you can ask them probably a scenario case, and then they can be able to explain you so well in a way that you don't feel like it's a robot that it's talking. Probably they give you the details that you're looking for, and then they keep quiet. Those are always the best people. But there are these ones who can be able to talk a lot of words, but at the end of it, if you sit down, you feel like they have been rotating. Yeah.
Same thing. Not straightforward.
Yeah.
Okay. Now something else is, let me come to you, Daniel. When we talk about, but before I even ask that question, is recruitment that easy?
No.
It's not.
No.
Okay. To that matter, recruitment is not that easy. Employee selection is not that easy. So as a HR, there is something that you're doing to ensure that you retain a person. And it's all about talent retainment and anything to do with that one. And let's talk about employee training and development. She's talked about the different employees in an organization or in a company. There are those who need to be followed, to be reminded. Okay, there are those who don't need all those. They can do the work without even supervision, and they do it on time. So as a matter of fact, or as far as those are concerned, what is the role of HR in employee training and development?
Thank you once again. I'll first support what she just said. We have different kinds of employees with different personalities. But at all, as we always say, like this finger, this hand has 5 fingers. And these fingers are of different height. But at the end, you will realize that if this finger is missing, then it's hard for the 4 to effectively perform what it used to do when they were 5. So same way, we may have the dispatch people, we may have those doing the invoicing, we may have the sales team, the procurement, the HR. So you don't have to see the list, those at the dispatch as the list. They are equally as important as any other person in the organization. So when you're doing evaluation and you realize that this is the strength of this person and these are the weaknesses, you recommend training. Training is mainly made to fix, it's a short term. Because you have a weakness in this area and we want you to fix it. So we recommend a training for you, and after the training, our expectation is that you have, if you are not able to fix 10 machines in 2 hours, we have trained you, and now in 2 hours you can fix those 10 machines. So our training has been productive or effective. Then with development, majorly it's long term. Maybe you are trying to develop leaders within an organization, because there are also uncertainties in life, things we fear to talk about, like death. It can happen anytime, any day. So how prepared are you to, in case such a thing happens in your company? There might be illnesses. Someone gets an accident and they are away for some good time, and they were good employees. So you are also developing them as future leaders in a way that if death happens, if accident happens, if someone resigns from work, they might resign as well. Or if you decide to terminate them maybe because of gross misconduct. So what happens next? Because if you are bringing in a new person, it will take them a longer period of time to learn your culture and learn everything and perform. But if you have already trained and developed your talents, then it's easy for you to elevate someone in that role, and then you can recruit for now a junior position. And the circle moves on well.
Now, in everything, we cannot lack misconceptions. Now, the misconceptions people have about HR is maybe anafuta tu kazi, anaandika tu kazi, hajanipenda, nini, things like that. And saving the the best for the last. What is the function of the qualities that a person should have in order to become a HR?
Okay, so for functions, basically for you to become an HR, first of all, you need to be a human being.
Okay.
And when you talk about human being, it's somebody who can be able to understand emotions, can be able also to make decision without feelings. I know it's contradictory because you're human, you have feelings and in that aspect. But when it comes now to running an HR department, we always call the bad person, because in most cases we implement. And implementation means there are times you're going to be tough.
Okay.
You need to follow the policies, the HR policies. Just to be able to make sure that you work in this company, you need to follow those HR policies. If at all you're not going to follow those HR policies, then I think we have a process to be able to say probably you have been, we are now going to start the disciplinary action on you. And in most cases, people realize that it's that bad when it's literally you're going home. But before that, the first process is always definitely the first warning, second warning, third warning. But most people realize it's that serious when it's the last option, whereby now you're terminating you. That is the fact that now that we have been, probably now we are being talked as the bad people, because why are you terminating my contract? It has been good in all this time. Especially, I've realized, I've never terminated somebody, but I've seen somebody being terminated.
Terminated me.
Okay.
So at the end of it, if at all you want to be able to make sure that you are in that company, we have to gel first of all. And as we gel, it brings about tunazoeana sasa.
Okay.
And the moment you get used to me, you feel like when I'm telling you, you're not supposed to do this, you feel like it's a joke. But on the other side, I'm serious. So you feel like now you have to, when I'll be telling you, I've given you the first warning, second warning, now you have to go home because definitely you're not following the laid rules and regulations and the process. Now you feel like I'm the bad person. At the same time, there's always pressure from the other side of management because they also have their expectation. Now, in cases whereby probably now the management, they are looking into now the performance aspect, the productivity. They are looking obvious on the other side of also complying, making sure that we comply with HR laws and regulation. In that aspect, as they also look into that side of me performing that functionality for them, also this other side I need to balance and make sure that, as I also make sure that you bring in the performance aspect, as we've been talking about, my friend has been talking about the making sure that the performance appraisal are taken through. I always normally say, as you do the performance appraisal, make sure you're very connected with the team leads and supervisors. At the same time, also make sure that as you give out the surveys, because that is what we normally do at the end of the day, after doing all those sorts, you give out the surveys. Avoid short answers. Avoid the ticking of yes or no. Bring in the aspects it's an open-ended space and somebody can be able to write down what they feel about that question. So it's easy for you even to understand if at all the team is comfortable with the environment, the culture, and also the expectation aspect comes in there. Now somebody will even be able to tell you, you had promised us this and this, now we need this and this, and we've not seen any move in that aspect.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't want to ask that question because it's going to spark, I don't know how to call it. But let's move on because we also don't have much time. Mr. Daniel, we are living in a fast-changing world, as well as new technologies are coming. So right now, technology is everywhere. So how is technology changing the way HR functions are carried out?
Technology is very important. That is why also in the present world, most companies are hiring innovative people. How innovative can you be when we give you a computer? How can you exhaust your brain as far as technology is concerned? So in the present, in the recent past, maybe you will realize that in many companies you just sign in when you're coming in. You're signing in on a booklet like as a record that I came to work. You write your name and then time. Then you enter. But right now, because of technology, we have those
biometrics.
Yeah, biometrics.
Okay.
So that they are also using helping the HR very well to trace your working hours, because you're supposed maybe to work for 8 hours. As you have signed in with the biometrics and you've walked outside, they will calculate and will realize that you didn't work for 8 hours. But if it's the handwritten, then it's hard to trace that this person was away within this time. So technology is very important, with also the employee files. You see, things like fire might happen, and if you are only having your records in hard copy form, and maybe fire happens, you lose everything. But right now you can go to how is it called?
System.
Yeah, to the systems that are available, and you can trace information anytime, any day. So technology is very important and very helpful within the HR functions. Yeah.
Now, because time is also not on our side, we kind of have a minute maybe. Let me give it to Lillian.
Yeah.
You can tell us your parting shot as far as the HR manager in functions in an organization is concerned, and also employee well-being, the relationship.
Okay. 1 minute is quite short, but let me try and just bring in the aspect. So HR as a function of literally function of HR in organization is to make sure that the team runs effortlessly, and also making sure that as you've talked about training and development, it also brings that aspects of, let us make sure that the team that we are working with, we make sure that we bring them in the aspect that they can be able to learn new things. They can be able also to engage more with the technology, especially right now it's fast-paced environment. And right now I feel like HR need to be able, especially to people who are working with tech mostly, I feel like this is the time for HR to create that environment where people can work wherever they can work from. It might be an hybrid setup, because with that aspect, you can be able to manage the work-life balance, literally managing work and the social life aspect of it. And most companies, at all, we can embrace that. It can be one way of making sure that the employee well-being is taken care of.
Wow. Yeah. Thank you so much. And also, I appreciate you guys coming here. Despite the rain, you've managed to be here, and that is really an amazing thing. And the discussion was amazing. And until tomorrow, let's meet for the Muslim Inside Show. This was Live Real Talk Show. I have been your host, Zamzam Ahmed. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
JamiaTV, beacon for the nation.